So tell me, what's been going on?
I don't know, Doc. Um, I'm not sure what they mean, but I've been having some really intense and incredibly real dreams for the last 2 weeks. And this morning, my wife woke me up because I was clenching my teeth and my hands were tight fists. I mean, she thought I was having a seizure, Doc. I had to get out of the damn house.
Tell me about these dreams. What happens in them?
Well, one starts with me running down a hill, which then I trip and fall down like I used to when I was a kid. And then I'm running in an open field, which turns into a valley from my childhood. And at first, I'm running through this field, but then I'm looking down at myself like I'm a hawk flying above. I mean, the feeling was just incredible, man. And what's weird is that I'm not a kid in any of these dreams. I'm my age. And after that, I stood on top of this hill that's in the backyard of my grade school, overlooking the entire valley, and just felt incredibly alive. I mean, it was so powerful that I woke up with tears in my eyes. The following night, I'm running through this hairy forest in a shirt, and in the middle of winter, like I'm a wolf or something. Filled with this primal animalistic need to run as fast as I can with no real destination or purpose, really. When the next thing I know, I'm playing hide and seek in a park with my friends like I used to, but I can't see any of my friends. It's just me. It's just me running around the same forest and park where I used to play, except it's rainy and it's like shitty and muddy and just overcast. My memories from this time were always sunny and hot. I mean, I never played outside in the cold because I fucking hate the cold. But in these dreams, it's either raining or snowing or it's windy, and I'm always alone for some reason. I mean, this isn't how it happened.
That's interesting. Tell me more.
Well, the next one starts in this rickety old concrete staircase from like the 70s, man, that it used to be in the building where I grew up. Except this time, I'm running down, and it seems like it's a never-ending spiral staircase because it just keeps going down and down, and there's no exit to be found. Until, mysteriously, I show up climbing a tree somewhere deep inside a forest. And then I'm just sitting up in this tree, way up high in the sky somewhere. And I end up on my back, lying down between a group of trees, just listening to the forest, having what felt like a moment of bonding with them. Like as if we became friends or something. As if I became part of the forest. I don't know. I mean, at one point, I opened my eyes and I just saw magnificence. I mean, it sounds crazy, Doc, but it just felt like I became part of the trees, and it was this amazing feeling.
Well, what kind of feeling?
I don't know. It's hard to explain. I mean, it was peace and calm and belonging. I mean, I felt at home when I was in the forest. Something like that. I don't know, but it was very strong.
Tell me about last night's dream.
Wow, this one was brutal.
How come?
Because it felt, as real as when I experienced it back when I was a teenager and when things were really shitty at home. And when I felt trapped and tied down and, like I was drowning.
And how old were you?
Oh, I was like 17, much older than in all these other memories. And I remember I was leaving my friend's house, high as a kite, 4 a.m. in the morning after a night of just hanging out and having one of the most incredible nights of my life. I didn't want to leave and I didn't want to go home, but I had to, I was 17. But for that night, hanging out with my friends felt like the world and all its insanity didn't exist. Only we did. I mean, it was magical. I was so fucking happy, man. And on my way home, I remember being so damn high that everything on the street was too bright for 4 a.m. I thought I needed sunglasses just to walk home. And the quiet, man, it was so quiet. It was so quiet, No distractions. No one was around. I mean, this was the 90s, right? So the streets were deserted after like 2:30 in the morning. And it was peaceful and it was beautiful. I could finally think, and enjoy the moment instead of just being torn apart by the day's fucking money grind shit show that everyone was programmed to do. I remember stopping at one point and smelling the jasmine that blooms only at night. It just filled my nose and my soul. I remember feeling and hearing the constant electric buzz that street lamps make when no one's around. I remember feeling the gentle summer wind as it rustled through the trees in front of homes that I wish were my home. You know, families that I wished were my families instead of the one I had to go back to. You know, I thought that any of these people must be happier than me because I couldn't be more unhappy in that shithole of a home that I belonged to. You know, but in last night's dream, you know, things weren't as I remember them. You know, in this dream, it was winter, and everything was cold and dead. Even the homes I walked by reminded me of tombs filled with mummified remains of what used to be happy families once. And at one point in the dream, I remember coming to an orange street lamp and stopping underneath it to smoke a J. Like right on the road, man. And I closed my eyes, and I opened my ears to nothing around me. And I just stood there, puffing away, until I completely dissolved into the moment of the stillness. And I swear to you, Doc, that in that moment of extreme stillness, I was convinced that I could willfully tear apart the shitty reality that I lived in and create a new one with a different home and a different family I belonged to.
How does it end?
I didn't go home. I walked left instead of right when I got to the end of the street.
You ran away?
I did. And everything after that was great for a long time. I went out and I made my own family, bought my own home, and had a kid. And the family was happy and healthy.
That's good. So home life is good.
Well, sort of.
What's going on?
I don't really know, Doc. I mean, I'm having trouble dealing with home life.
How so?
I can't deal with the stresses anymore, you know?
Is there infidelity?
No, it's none of that. It's no one's fault. She's not doing anything wrong, and neither is her kid. It's just that I find myself snapping at everyone over the smallest, stupidest things, you know? I feel like I've just run out of patience just about everyone and over everything. I don't know, I feel incredibly overwhelmed and trapped when I'm home, to the point where, you know, some days I just don't want to come home from work.
Well, this kind of thing happens to a lot of people who've been married for some time. And I'm really glad you came and talked to me about this. And I think it's very important that we continue talking about this. But we're going to have to do it another time because unfortunately your time's up. Would you like to set an appointment for next week?
I'll get back to you.
The world is cold, the night is still, the dream is old, and so is the thrill. Some cool DJ begins to play a West Montgomery score. When you're all alone, it's always 4 a.m. When you're all alone, it's always 4 a.m.